Yeah, you see the little countdown.
Mm-hmm.
I know this thing's all fancy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here. I think we're getting up on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube live, we're about to get started here shortly. Welcome to another conversation of entrepreneur struggle where weekly or bi-weekly we're coming here live to have these conversations. It's a little sporadic right now, so make sure that you're following myself at Chris Colbert Report, following DCP Entertainment, through our YouTube page, but also at DCP Official. If you want to stay updated when we're doing these, because we're working a lot around the schedules of these busy entrepreneurs, these freelancers. And so we have to be a little record these, but we do want to make sure that we try to come on here at least once every 2 weeks. But we're probably going to have a few more interviews in these next few weeks. So again, follow me at Chris Colbert Report, also at DCP Official. And if you are watching us live on YouTube right now, in our comments section, you are able to interact with us live. I'm here with a great guest who I'll be introducing here shortly. And we want you to be able to participate and ask any questions, especially things that are going to help you in your personal journey, creating and scaling up your business, or even if you're a freelancer, just getting some words of wisdom on things that you need, again, in your journey, but also if you're looking to maybe pivot into doing something a little bit bigger. Kim here, our guest, might be a great wealth of information for you, especially around health and wellness and creating and starting a community and collective of spiritual
Mm-hmm.
minds. And so we're going to dive in. But again, with entrepreneur struggle, each time we have this conversation, we're really trying to pare down a lot on the self-care aspects of being an entrepreneur, being a freelancer, because a lot of times we don't necessarily take time to take care of ourselves. And a lot of times we feel that we can't talk as open and honestly about these things that we may be facing because maybe we have employees that we're afraid, may think less of us or feel like they need to jump ship because maybe you're not all there. But we all are, going through something. And so it's great to know that there are others going through something similar so we can learn from their journeys as we go through our own. So again, all the more reason why we want you to be able to participate in this conversation. And today I'm joined by Kim Roach, who is somebody who's in the spiritual space, somebody who's been doing a lot of different work as a freelancer, but also has now started her own business fairly recently. So we're going to get into all of that. But Kim Roach here is an abundance coach, a spiritual transformation mentor, a
Mm-hmm.
certified sound healer, which I definitely want to understand what that's all about, breath work and meditation facilitator, and now the founder of the new company, Collective Getaway. And so Kim has just been doing such great work within her communities. Let you know, Kim, my producer and assistant, Heather Johnson, raves about you and the work that you're doing. And so I'm just really appreciative for you joining us here for Entrepreneur Struggle.
Thank you, Chris. I'm super excited to be here.
Wonderful. Well, start with this is, looking through the work that you've done. You've worked a little bit in corporate America. You've done the freelance thing. You're now started your own company.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's a lot to this story probably, but can you kind of tell us that journey of what led you down your path? And I know a lot of it deals with traveled and moved about the world. So can you kind of tell us about your upbringing and how that led into the business that you now have?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely had a very unique upbringing. I grew up all over the world. My father was a military man, and then he joined the State Department, so he's a diplomat. So every 2 to 3 years, I moved to another country growing up. So I had really a privilege to witness the world in the way that people can really live their lives in such different ways and get to observe all these different types of cultures and these different styles of living and really see the world at a very young age. I was also exposed to a lot of different cultures, religions, foods, everything, and was able to really soak that up. And I always say it's like everyone is programmed to be a specific way due to their upbringing or the cultures that they're around, their parents. And, growing up with my father as a military man, as a diplomat, he really programmed into me kind of what he expected a career to really look like, right? And what his expectations of that was, and that was the very basic 9 to 5, go to college, get the 9 to 5, corporate forever type of life,
Mm-hmm.
and and that's what I had programmed into me that if I didn't do that, I would basically fail. So after I graduated college, I traveled a little bit more. I went to South Africa. I went to Australia. I backpacked Southeast Asia for about 2 years until I ran out of money. And then I was like, I think
That'll
it's
happen.
time for me. Yeah, that'll happen. And then I figured it was time for me to come back to the States and really, start my career and do the whole 9 to 5 thing. And so I went to New York and I got a corporate role in the office in pharmaceutical recruitment, which is, nothing I would have ever expected because I don't know anything, even to this day, really about pharmaceuticals. It just kind of fell into my lap. And it was just really unaligned. And I really did the thing for, I don't know, just over 2 years. But what had happened was I fully cracked. I knew that this wasn't in alignment for me in terms of the type of job that I was working, the industry that I was working. Nothing was in alignment. And I was consistently stressed all of the time. My body would give out in such different ways. So I decided to quit that job and then go back to bartending for a little bit. And then eventually I decided to just leave New York as a whole and come to Los Angeles. And that's where I really started my own business and started to freelance and started to create my own business, which is Kim Roach Collective. And what it really started with was, because I traveled so much growing up, I always thought that I wanted to hold retreats and things like that. So when I came to LA, I was new here. I didn't know that many people. And so I decided to make like little mini getaway retreats for friends and friends of friends so that we could travel across California because there's so much to see in California. And then meet more people. So I started holding these like little getaways, which turned out to just be for friends and friends of friends. But people loved them. And then I decided to turn it more into a business. Chris, are you still there?
Oh yeah, I'm still here. Sorry. I don't know if I froze on your screen, but yeah, you're still good.
Yeah. Okay, no worries, just making sure. So yeah, when I moved to LA, that's when everything changed for me because I really just wanted to step into my power here. I felt like when I moved from New York to LA, a big reason why was because to me, LA seemed like the place where so many people were chasing their dreams in a way. And not to say that people in New York weren't doing that, it just wasn't as prominent to me. And I was in a place in New York where I felt really stuck in so many different ways in my career and just like in my life in general that I needed to get out. So yeah, when I moved to LA, I started doing these little mini getaway retreats. And then when everything really started to change when COVID hit. So when COVID hit, for me, I was still in my 9 to 5 at that point, but I wasn't really working much because we were like I was a recruiter in my 9 to 5 and we were in a hiring freeze. So I had a lot of spare time. And so what I did was I used that time to really start chasing the things that I've always wanted to chase. I bought myself a set of crystal bowls, which is what the whole sound healing thing comes from, which I can kind of get into. But I bought myself a set of crystal bowls and taught myself how to play all these healing instruments. I also got a certification in breathwork and meditation facilitation. And over the duration of like 1 year, I was really just like honing in on my skills within both the sound healing, the breathwork, meditation, all of that. And then when the world started to open up a little bit more, I started offering those to the public and getting paid for those. And then I also, with the retreats that I had mentioned earlier, they kind of put it all on pause during COVID because the world was closed. But right when things started opening up again, I decided to make that a little bit more of a formal retreat rather than just like friends and friends of friends. And And yeah, things just started to boom. People were coming to my sound baths. I was selling out every single time. The customers that were funneling through my sound baths wanted to go on my retreat. So that's when
Right.
I started Collective Getaway. And really, the idea between Collective Getaway is just like a quick getaway from LA to go to Joshua Tree or somewhere else immersed in nature where we could be just women getting together to really explore our spirituality and do a lot of healing modalities, to do meditation, to do breath work, to be immersed in nature, and just kind of disconnect really from our day-to-day lives.
Mm.
So yeah, sorry, I just went through a little rampage, but that's kind of a overall arching story of my upbringing and background.
Oh yeah, no, necessary. I asked. And honestly, you had mentioned the sound healing, and I know in reading the work that you do, as in right before the pandemic started, it just happened that I was kind of going through more of a spiritual exploration, I guess. I was trying like
Mhm.
Reiki. I was, doing more meditation for myself, trying to do. I going down that. I never heard about sound. I was reading it. I'm like, oh, okay, I love Baz. I love music. Can I do that together? That's a healing thing. And then looking at the pictures, I realized it is not what I was imagining in terms of just playing music in my shower, music in my bathtub, Epsom soaking. But yeah, tell us what
Mhm.
sound healing is, what those sound baths are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I was never a musician growing up. I was never like, as much as I wanted to learn how to play instruments, I was never someone who did that growing up. So I never thought that sound baths and sound healing were something that I would step into. But like I said, I just bought myself a set of crystal bowls during COVID and really started to teach myself how to play them. And eventually I went to a training. But the whole idea of sound baths are that the instruments are healing instruments, and it's a form of meditation that when people come, it's a passive meditation, and the frequencies of the healing instruments will literally bathe them. So that's why it's called a sound bath. So you're just getting bathed in these different frequencies, and each instrument has its own healing modality. So the crystal bowls, for example, each bowl is tuned to a different chakra, and the idea is that if you are quote unquote out of tune energetically, this will help you get back into alignment and back into tune, on an energetic sense, but also on a physical sense, because on a molecular level, we are mainly water, and this what the sounds are doing, are they're like almost like vibrating within you, right? On a molecular level. It can even feel like a little mini massage inside of your body that's happening when the frequencies are so loud.
Got it. And speaking of healing and just kind of feeling energy, as you were talking about your journey that has led you to now and living in LA, like you talked about that time in New York, and part of it was the job you were working, but it also sounded like it was the energy that was there in New York, just the lifestyle that you were leading. And you've
Yeah.
traveled all around the world. I think over
Hmm.
30 countries you've been to now at this point.
Hmm.
How can like a change of scenery change your mindset, energy change just by moving your location?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that, because I grew up so many places. I feel like every single town and city I've lived in is like a different chapter of my life. And so I really think there is something powerful about the energy of the city that you're in. There's even an astrology map that you can look up, and I can even send you a
Oh,
website
please
where
do.
yeah, where it shows you like where in the world certain planets aligned when you were born, right? So maybe your Venus is in LA, for example. Mine is. So if you go to different places that are an energetic match to you in terms of your astrology, there's like big energetic shifts that happen there. So not to say that I make all my moves based on this astrology map, but it's just something interesting to look into. But I do believe that every single city has a different energy to it, and a different opportunity to it. So to me, New York was a really expansive place for meeting a lot of people, and just like it's fun. New York was a lot of fun, especially in your early 20s.
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, but LA to me was more so expansive in my own business and career, whereas New York was more expansive in a way of like trying new things out, I guess you could say. Um, and LA was just a lot more honed in and focused on what I really wanted to create out of my life.
No, that makes sense. And, I normally live in New York, though right now, as you can see with my baby crib backdrop, this is not my normal setup for those of you watching entrepreneurs struggle for the first time. But I'm
Mhm.
vacationing in Jacksonville, but normally I'm in New York. And to your point, like New York has some great energy, especially when it comes to meeting,
Mhm.
like that, but it can be emotionally and like mentally exhausting. Just the day-to-day
Yes.
grind, how many people there are, how many functions are always going on, feeling like you just have to be doing everything. So I totally get
Yeah.
what you're saying, and partially why I'm hiding out in Jacksonville right now. Even I need to take a break from that kind of energy sometimes.
It's too much fun. It's too yeah, New York is aggressive, but in a good way. Like I love visiting. I just my body couldn't do it anymore. I just needed more space. And that's something about LA, at least like California as a whole, to me felt like it had more space, even though LA is still a big city. It's not as like condensed, right, as New York. LA is very, very spread out, and there's even more space in that energetically as well. And I just needed that for my body. I needed to breathe a little bit. And New York, it was like it was too much fun.
Well, and you mentioned too how things were in New York kind of manifesting in your body, but I know even recently, in doing research, I
Mhm,
who comes on the show, and I was going through your Instagram stories yesterday, and actually I'm sorry, 2 days ago, and you had posted something about just how your cup feels empty, and it's just things are
mhm,
starting to manifest in you, and so you need a break, you need some time away. Interesting to hear
mhm,
you say that, because you think about someone, you're just like, oh, they're just all, their cup is always full because this is their job, but at the same time you're giving so much, and you are running businesses, multiple businesses, and a new one on top
mhm,
of that. Can you talk a little bit, I guess, where you are right now and just that particular post about feeling like your cup is empty, and like what does that mean to you, and how do you
mhm.
refill your cup, especially because some of those healing things that most people use are actually part of your job. So maybe it's tough to use for others for yourself because that brings you back to work. I just gave you a lot of things to answer, but
Yeah.
yeah, now, and how are you healing from it?
Yeah, so I think right now it's interesting because this whole year, 2022, is going in a totally different direction than I would have ever imagined. It feels like everything is moving at warp speed, not only for myself, but just like for the collective as a whole. Like everyone I'm speaking to has so much on their plates, and after 2 years of COVID, things are opening up and opening really, really fast. And what I've noticed for me as a business owner is that my business is also expanding in a really amazing way. I'm getting new clients to work with on my one-on-one coaching. I'm getting new opportunities to collaborate with other brands. Just did a lot of sound baths. I'm doing an amazing job. I think my business is doing great. But with that said, balancing that with some of the freelance stuff that I'm working on, um, and just being go 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 every single day, literally this whole year. I guess we're basically in May now, right? So 5 months in, basically half the year is already done. Moving so quickly, on top of just the business stuff, also the personal stuff, traveling, people are having weddings, people are yeah, there's just a lot of movement. And for me personally, my body told me to it's time to chill out. It's really time. You cannot be overdrive 24/7 every single day, because I work the weekends, I work every single day, right? Weekdays, weekends, I have things going on. And with that said, there's no time for rest for me. And I think what happens is that if my body can't catch up with this movement, then it's just going to stop completely, right? And that's what happened to me this week. I'm still kind of recovering right now, but um your body, I know that your body really does become addicted to the patterns that we repeat every single day. Your body becomes addicted to stress and the cortisol and all of this stuff that the chemicals that it releases when it's in these patterns. So I think my body became addicted to this like fast pace, fast pace, fast pace. And then eventually it couldn't do it anymore. So it just stopped completely. And now it just like, you know, the way that it manifests into your physical body is from an energetic slowdown into the physical is like you'll get sick, medical issues will come up. And that's all of that has been coming up for me because it's my body's way of telling me to slow down because clearly I can't slow myself down energetically. So my body has to do it for me, kind of thing.
Yeah, they say if you yeah, if you don't slow down and take care of your body's gonna, you were kind of talking about just kind of how you were just going. Sometimes like almost being on autopilot. Like I've definitely put myself in this mode of, okay, all these things have to get done. So it's okay that I'm not sleeping or doing this. I'm focused on the mission. And I'm actually even afraid to take a step back sometime. If I look and analyze everything, I'm not gonna be able to do anything. I'm gonna be paralyzed or I'm gonna feel that tiredness set in. But I don't have time to rest. But to your point, if you don't rest, you're gonna end up, luckily for me, I don't get sick all the time. I get little injuries in my neck, my back, my hips, my knees. That's where it manifests for me. But for others, like you said, maybe they get sick, they'll get the flu or, something else. And so it's more, it's definitely important to make sure that you're working on your care so you don't end up in a situation where now you're forced to have to take some time off.
Exactly. And then when you're forced to take time off due to your body, it's also then it's then how do you show up for your business, right? Just because you can't show up for your business and your clients. For me, I work with other humans, right? A lot of my work is client work, show up on face to face. Like I'm someone who holds space. So like as someone who's an entrepreneur in the spiritual space, what I do is literally just hold space for others through their journey and helping assist them in that journey. But if I'm not in a place physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically to hold that space, then I cannot show up for other people to hold that space for them if I can't even do it for myself, right? So it's like it's interesting to it's really also I think like this balance of like the feminine and the masculine in a way too, right? It's like, okay, feminine, you want to be in flow state and you want to just like be doing all of these things and do what feels right to you, feels good to you. But and the masculine side of it being so structured, I guess you can say as well, that if one of them is not in balance with each other, then yeah, it's gonna crumble. So yeah, I think the biggest learning that I've gotten from this period of my body, because I usually don't get very sick either. It's maybe once a year I'll get sick, and I'm going through it right now. But the lesson is that I have to hold the space for myself too before holding the space for others. And holding the space for myself is just making sure I'm balanced on an energetic as well as physical level, a masculine and feminine level, balanced in all areas. Otherwise, like it's gonna crumble.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of in this, but like thickness to what you do. Like you really have to be an empath to do a lot of the work that you do. So is there ways that you have to set up boundaries for yourself in the work that you do with your clients, with, other partners, to save space for yourself while you're also helping others through what they're going through?
Yes, absolutely. And I think for me, it's really just the boundaries of taking care of my calendar, right? It's like also boundaries of making sure that I'm doing calls when it feels right to me, right? So I'm not going to be talking to any clients at like 7 p.m. if I'm tired from the day or whatever, just like what times of the day feel right for me to work and do this work, and then do those types of client calls during those times. And what days do I feel that I need to have no events, no calls or anything like that, where I can focus on other things like my social media or my website or Yeah, really just balancing the calendar to make sure it feels right for me to flow. So certain days and certain times to do calls versus certain days and certain times to do the other administrative stuff for my business is really part of setting those boundaries, is
That's
just
good.
calendar management.
And I'm sure maintaining those boundaries, it can probably be
Mhm.
easy to I know, speaking from experience, it's easy to backslide and make one exception, and next thing you know, you've made an exception for everybody. So yeah, you got to maintain
Yeah.
those boundaries once you set them, and also reevaluate, because we're always changing and we're in different modes at different times of life. Yeah, reevaluating where
Mhm.
we are and how we can set up those boundaries to benefit us and benefit our company.
Mhm. 100%. Yeah.
If you're just joining us here on YouTube Live, Roach, you're an entrepreneur struggle. She's an abundance coach, spiritual transformation mentor, certified sound healer, breathwork and
Mhm.
meditation facilitator, and also the Collective Getaway and Kim Roach Collect. Obviously, that a lot of work in that spiritual space. And we were touching earlier on the fact, and even now in the work that you do, it seems like you still get a lot of travel in your personal life. But have you experienced different countries and with so many different cultures, how you even look at, kind of touched on it before, that you were kind of raised, through your family, of having to do work as a 9 to 5 kind of situation. But were you able to kind of watch how other people moved around in different countries, took
Mhm.
lessons for yourself of and what work means to you now, just based on what you were able to see cultures?
Yeah, I love that you asked this question because it's I think still it comes back to the programming. Like, what was my programming? And mine in particular, from my family aspect, was the 9 to 5, very structured type of way, American dream, so to call it. But what I was witnessing, which I don't think my father really grasped when he moved us around so much that this would happen to me, was he had a very specific programming, of course, and understanding that this comes from an ancestral lineage as well. Like, how was your grandfather programmed, and how were your parents programmed, and how were and how does it come down to you? Um, but because I got to move around so much while he was at work, because I was raised by a single father, while he was at work, I got to explore so much more of the countries that we were living in, and hang out with, like, yeah, really amazing groups of people, and see so much more than I think that he knows that I was able to see and experience. So I know for a fact, like, that you can be successful in so many different ways, and but I think for me, still, it was very hard to let go of the programming that he gave me. Um, it's still something I'm struggling with, right? It's like these limiting beliefs of, like, well, I believe that I can only be successful if I work really hard, or I believe I can be successful um, if I work these specific hours of the day, or I believe I can be successful if X Y Z. So I think it's really a matter of just letting go of those programs, which is the part that is complicated, because it comes down to way more than just like, okay, well, I've seen it culturally because I saw all of these things growing up, from other people, but still deep in my core, as in my inner child, it was programmed a specific way. And those are the limiting beliefs that we have to let go of. And to go down to the core root of that is a lot easier said than done, right? It's like almost rewriting your story completely. And that in itself has been a challenge for me. And it usually is a challenge for a lot of people, because the limiting beliefs and programs are, it's a process of reprogramming the subconscious um, to let that manifest into a different way of reality today.
Hmm. Yeah, and with the work that you do too, like, it being so, mission driven in terms of helping people and get to where they need to be and healing. Has it been tough? Like, I know you were talking about your journey. It started with helping friends, and then it was like, oh, all these other people want these lessons. But was it still tough to from this, and now I have to run this as something where I need to make money on a consistent basis to keep this going? But again, the ultimate mission is to help people. Like, has there been any toughness with trying to do this as a business?
Yeah. So I think for me, my human design, and if you don't know what human designs are, it's another kind of astrology type of thing. My human design is I'm a generator, and what generators do is they are the best when they are working on something that lights their soul on fire, kind of thing. Like if it's not in alignment, then they're not going to be able to work on that specific project. So for me, I love teaching these practices and holding space for others through these different spiritual practices, because it is these practices that changed my life. And the reason why I turned it into a business is because I mean, a lot of reasons, but yeah, like I just said, these are the practices that changed my life, and I feel that they can also change a lot of other people's lives if they really commit to it. But I also know, as a coach, as someone who holds the space, that I am just here to hold the space. Like, it is not my responsibility to change you. I can help teach you the practices, but ultimately, it is your responsibility to change your own life. It is your responsibility to take the action that you need to do. So knowing that, and even being very straightforward with my clients about that, right off the bat, that I'm not a healer. Everyone is their own healer. There's no one out there that's like can be the healer of the world. You are your own healer. And once you understand that and know that, it's like, okay, are you willing and ready to take the action? So I think for me, it hasn't been complicated as someone who holds the space, because I know that that's what my business is. I'm someone who holds the space, and I'm here to help you with the practices that also changed my life, because I know that they can work in changing yours too. But ultimately, it is you who has to take the action and embody those changes.
And yeah, we all have our journeys. We all have the kind of a lot of times it's timing for people too, and just what they're going through at a certain time. So like you said, you give them the tools, it sounds like, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
them in their lives and stay consistent with them. And
Mm-hmm.
that you're doing in spirituality or healing in I'm forgetting some of the terms here, but in spirituality and a lot of doing, do you think that there's a specific benefit for folks in their business life? Because I think, well, at least when I usually think about spirituality, when I think about healing work, I'm thinking more necessarily always think about the benefits that it could have for me in my work life. Are there
Mm-hmm.
certain things in the work that you do that you think has a benefit for your clients on the work side too?
Yeah, I mean, I think 100%. I think I mean, spirituality is such a big umbrella term, right? But when it comes to spirituality and work and business, there's so much about again, how your subconscious was programmed around maybe money. So is your wealth consciousness at a space where you're in abundance, or are you coming from a lack mentality, right? And if you're in abundance, well, then how can that relate back to your business? So I think it's really just a mindset shift around coming from lack into abundance, and then shifting that into the business too. Because, and you can talk about even quantum timelines. You can talk about a lot of different things and how that goes into business. But I absolutely think that, yeah, spirituality and business have a direct connection, because once you shift your subconscious into um, a place where you know that you are the creator, and a place that you know that you are you have infinite possibility, and once you know that for a fact, like without a question, then anything can manifest, whether that's business, houses, money, whatever it is that you want to call in. It will come to fruition because it's in your deep belief into your subconscious. I believe everything is a reflection of your subconscious beliefs. And once you're reprogrammed in the subconscious beliefs, then that's going to be what's reflected back into your 3D reality. And that could go into your business as well. So, my partner is also a CEO of his own business, and he has seen major shifts once he started meditating on a daily basis, started hitting the frequencies, hitting the timelines of a higher vision for himself, as well as myself. Like, my business only grew because I do these practices every single day. So I'm expanding, and if I'm expanding, my business is expanding. So yeah, I believe it does relate.
Yeah, it's all connected together. And you
Mm-hmm.
talked a bit with the work that you do with these other individuals. A lot of it you do because of the benefit and I know that you've, taught some classes, master classes on imposter syndrome. So I then have to ask, like, have you found yourself in that imposter syndrome situation as well? And then, how do you push through that? And I don't want you to give away all your tips because, you're giving master classes on this thing. So I know you can't do it in just.
Yeah.
How were you able to push through something like that?
I love that because imposter syndrome is something that still comes up to me frequently. And I think it's something that you just bring awareness around it. Like, oh, I'm having imposter syndrome right now, right? But because I've had it so many times in the past, I know kind of how to handle it now. And it's almost like witnessing the imposter syndrome as if it's its own entity that's not even a part of you. Like almost taking the imposter syndrome, the fears, the beliefs, if you're scared of an outcome or procrastination, whatever it is, whatever your imposter syndrome is, noticing it and really almost like taking it out of your mind and seeing it as its own physical entity and being like, okay, I see you, but I'm not going to let you kind of stop me, right? Because imposter syndrome, it comes to everyone. It comes to every single person. And it's like one of those things where it's like, it's just part of the process. And I believe that if you're facing imposter syndrome, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that you're on the right path. You're on the right path if you're having imposter syndrome, because that means you're stepping into something in a higher alignment for yourself, right? And the imposter syndrome is only coming through because of whatever beliefs that you've had of yourself in the past. So I think yeah. So I think if you're facing imposter syndrome, it just shows that you're walking closer to your highest path, your highest alignment. Chris?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Are you able to hear me? Yeah, froze a
Yes,
little bit
I can
there.
hear you.
Okay. I guess you didn't hear what I was just saying. I was just, saying that I love how you kind of frame that as well in terms of saying, like, looking at the imposter syndrome as its own entity separate of yourself. Because now there's less judgment on yourself. You're not beating yourself up over feeling this way. And also it makes it a little bit easier to isolate that and pick it up and move it out. You can, it's kind of take that step back and day to day, and then you can analyze how to move that out of your life and get more back in there.
Absolutely. And I know at the end of the day, all of us, every single human on this planet, what we are in our truest form is just pure love, right? And if we can just come back to that vibration of love and gratitude at the end of the day, then we're coming back to our truth. So anything like imposter syndrome, fear, scares, and all of these other lower vibrational thoughts and energies that are coming through, really just coming back to yourself with compassion and being like, oh, imposter syndrome's coming through right now to protect me, maybe, but I love myself through this process anyway. And this is just part of the process to get to the timeline, to get to this higher version of myself, and just seeing it back to that, right? Taking it back to love and taking it back to compassion. And seeing imposter syndrome as just part of the process.
Nice. And I know a lot of the work that you do is centered around women and coming together as women together in your communities and your collective. Why that specific focus there? And what are some of the benefits you've seen from really having that extreme focus there?
Yeah. To me, it feels like women, we have been suppressed for so long from society and for so many reasons, right? We call it the witch wound, and the witch wound in the sense of like, let's take it back to spirituality, right? Like back to women are so freaking powerful, and we are so in tune. Like we are in tune with like our moon cycles are literally in cycle with the moon. Like it is like we are that powerful that we are like our bodies are moving with the frequencies and the energies of the moon. Like that's how powerful we are. And back to the days of when there were quote unquote witches, like they would burn us and they murder us, and then back like fast forward to today of like all the suppression that we've had, living in a patriarchal society, and just like women have been programmed to keep separate from each other, right? And there is something really, really powerful when women are together and gathered together. It's like our magic goes by times 10. It's our magic is so much more empowered when we are together, and there's so many teachings that we can have for each other, and so many opportunities to help lift each other up. It's just that our programming of society for so long has been to keep us separate, maybe for the fear of how powerful we are when we are together, who knows. But I just believe that the more women can get together, the more magic there can be on this planet and in this universe. And we need to strip the programming that we need to keep separate, right? We need to strip the programming of gossip and bitch talking each other and all of these like really negative things that women sometimes tend to do to each other, because like that's the way the patriarchy wanted it to be. It's like, well, no, why don't we rise together? And we can only do that if we're together. So that's why I focus on women.
Nice. And I do some work more on like the social justice side around police violence against Black people. And I know sometimes I'll get pushback from people like, why are you only focusing on Black people and not this group or that group? Like, do you get some of those trolls, those people who are trying to either tear down what you're doing or question what you're doing? And how do you work through that?
I don't really get as many trolls as much as I get, like, I think men actually just really want to be a part of the stuff that I do, because I feel
nice.
like there is like a beautiful divine feminine rising right now, not only within women but also within men. Men are learning now that we aren't just masculine. Like, all human beings have both masculine and feminine energies in them, and I think right now we're in a period of the divine feminine rising. So men are starting to become more in touch with their feelings. They're becoming more open to having like these types of conversations. They're becoming more open to spirituality and these more sensitive areas, and like breaking down this like macho man, like let's like get in touch with our feelings. And I think that there's like something so beautiful in that, whereas in the work that I do, I think men, it's not that they are trying to tear me down. I think they want to be a part of it too, and I think that's really, really beautiful. But I'm just not someone who holds space for men right now. And that's maybe something that can change in the future. And I think that even myself, I'm still healing like my brother wound, like my wound with men. And that's my own journey that I'm going to go through. But I don't believe right now I'm being torn down in any sense. I think it's just, if anything, it's just that the boys want to be a part of it.
No, that's a great quote unquote problem to have right there. Like, you want more people want to be part of the journey. And I'm sure because a lot of the work that you're doing on social media, though they're not, maybe able to take part personally in a lot of the things that you're doing, they're able to still learn through what you're putting out there. So, social media wise. So I think you're still having that impact on people, beyond just the women. But I the way, unfortunately, a lot of people put it against each other and unfortunately marginalized in a lot of different ways. Actually, even just a few weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a group of women who were talking about how they don't, unfortunately, talk as openly about pregnancy the way that they should, but they've been beaten down to not be open and honest with each other. And that's something I'm slowly learning as I get older and have more, open conversations with women. So I completely understand, why that focus has to be there. And again, why I think it's a good thing that you have that focus there, because I think that also then allows the people you're working with to be more open and honest around, individuals who are probably going through some similar things, and that create some of those bonds that have been torn down because of the way, the patriarchal society is, as you had mentioned. So no, it's incredible the work that you're doing. And actually that sets up me to I want to, learn too, like, what are some of the wins? Like, what are some of the great things that have been happening for you all? Obviously, you just, started the new, sorry, I'm forgetting the name of it now. Oh, the collective getaway. Like, you started that just in December. So, can you talk about some of the wins for your companies, for your freelance work, and just anything that you're looking to celebrate?
Yeah. So last year I had, last year I had about 3 sold out retreats, and this year I'll probably just do one. I've been focusing a lot this year on just expanding my coaching business, which I'm really excited about. And I've been working with women one-on-one, and I absolutely love all of my clients. I feel like they're just all soulmate clients. And I don't know how people even find me, but it's like they pop up into my orbit and I'm like, oh, you're amazing. It's like, I just love each and every one of them. I'm so honored to like be a part of their journey. And something I'm looking forward to in the near future is holding like more group mentorship things. Where I can hold space for maybe up to 10 people at a time, and we can do like more of a like a standardized like 3-month program or something like that, where each week we can go through different healing modalities and the different really interesting subjects. But yeah, I'm just really celebrating the expansion that I've been going through. I love the retreats. I still like sound will always be my first love, and even if I'm expanding beyond sound baths, I mean, I love always going back to it. I have one happening tomorrow actually, and yeah, just celebrating all of the expansion. I'm really excited to see where the coaching stuff takes me. That's really what I started in December was the coaching stuff. So so far it's been really successful, and I can't wait to see how much more success it brings me.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on all of that. And, even just in this conversation, I think I learned like 3 new terms. And one of them, I am going to follow up with you. I want to see this calendar or this map, and just my astrology tells me where I should be living. I love
Yeah.
myself in New York, but at the same time, I'm looking for another home right now. So you can help me out there.
Yes, 100%. You have to know your exact birth time and place,
I
but
do.
if you have that, you're good to go.
Nope.
Shoot me further again. Yeah, I know my birth time and all that. I'm actually on the pattern app.
One of my friends got me on that, so that had to figure out my date and time for all that good stuff. So yeah, send that over to me, and I'll figure out where my next home is.
Perfect.
And before we wrap up here as well, I want to make sure that people know how to stay updated with the things that you're doing. Also, like how they can, if you're a woman, be able to take part in these retreats. Stay up to date with the Kim Roach Collective, or to use your advising services. So, yeah, let us know social media, website, all that fun stuff.
Yes. So my social media is It's Kim Roach. So ITSKIMROACH, both on Instagram and TikTok. My website is kimroachcollective.com. And you can find pretty much everything on my website. So that'd be a really good way to get in touch with me.
Wonderful. Well, again, Kim, thank you so much for here on Entrepreneur Struggle. For those of you who are watching live, if you missed any of this conversation, make sure on Monday you go to Entrepreneur Struggle on any podcast listening platform. You'll be able to listen back to this conversation. And if you want to stay updated on when we're going to have another one of these live conversations, so you can participate and ask any questions or make comments, you can join. Make sure you follow myself at Chris Colbert Report on Instagram, and also you can follow at DCP Official on all social media platforms to get updates on when we'll be having these conversations. But yeah, as we wrap up here, again, Kim, thank you so much for being part of this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
Thank you. And for those of you listening, thank you for being here. And until the next Entrepreneur Struggle, stay safe and stay healthy, because that struggle is real.